Hey, welcome along, welcome back. It's part two. Let's get to installing. Now, you may not have seen it before, but this is my car. It is a 2002 Mazda 323 sedan. This is what we're here for. And as you might expect, the front does have disc brakes. I have to paint those calipers, but the reason we're here is this old technology drum brakes. We're going to be replacing those and finally have the car with full disc brakes front and rear. Let's get to it. As with any job, you will need a couple of tools: sockets, spanners, extensions. I would recommend that. And if you really have one, that would be great. Get yourself a torque wrench. It will help you a lot. But now we jack up the car. First thing to do, of course, block off your front wheels, since we're working on the back, and you're going to check up the back. I'm going to remove these gold lock nuts. These are allegedly branded Vossen, like the famous wheel brand. I don't think Vossen makes these, but there you go. It's also the reason why I wanted to have gold brake calipers, just to match. But as soon as the store has stock of gold paint, we'll get that sorted out. Grease cap. These are the brake drums we're going to be replacing. Now, I actually did a rookie error recently whilst working on my suspension. You can see I've got sleeve overs, but that's a topic for another video. Anyway, while I was doing that, I managed to break this metal brake line that feeds brake fluid. So as a result, my car has been standing for about a week because I have no brakes. But today we're going to replace it. Now, to do the conversion, because I have the hubs attached to mine, I'm gonna need to release these two here and this big boy down here. Those are the three main bolts you have to remove to get this entire assembly that you see here, this entire assembly out. Now, they also connect on the other side. There's one there, and there are the other two, 1 and 2. You don't necessarily need to remove this one. It's connected directly to the strut, so we're okay on that front. Going to remove my 3mm spacers. They all need to be cleaned up at some point, as well as my hub centering rings. Here we go. Okay, now we get to pulling these out. Now, the first thing to do is to remove your handbrake cable or your parking brake. 12mm socket on the back here. There's a second one down below. and that will release the bracket that's holding it in place. And you just unhook this. There's a latch and a hook that hooks onto this. Simply unhook it and brake is free. And mine is actually broken, but we'll do an install video on that pretty soon. What you'll need: 17mm socket and spanner. The first 2 bolts I showed you on the strut, that's what you're gonna go for. I also recommend an extension piece on your socket wrench. One more to go. So it's just my neighbor coming home. Once again, a 17mm socket down here. The other side, however, is a 20 or 21, maybe a 22mm. I don't have that size, so I'm going to use an adjustable pliers to crack it open. And there she goes. Now, a man once said, there is no room for a hammer in a car's toolbox. For the most part, that's true, but in some cases like this, you need it. And you don't want to hit directly onto the bolt. Rather put the nut on there with some room. It will distribute the force and prevent damage to your bolt. You can use another bolt as persuasion. Just make sure it's a smaller diameter so it doesn't get trapped inside. Now, this guy. Should break free. There we go. And that is the entire brake drum assembly that you no longer need. Now, before installing, you need to consider your brake line. Being an old style drum brake setup, the metal brake line comes from here into the caliper. But the new brake line will not fit onto here. If I cover with my thumb, that's the full brake line there. It stops there just where my thumb begins. What you want to do is go all the way back here and break this loose. There's a threaded bolt on the other side. Let me see if I can show you. There you go. That needs to be loosened, and then install the new pipe, a new brake line, before we get into the hub. Otherwise space would be very, very limited. Now to get this off, we'll first need a set of pliers, as there is a metal clip right here holding the setup in place. There you go. Now obviously there will be some brake fluid in here, so I just want to check first before I flood this area. There we go. Size 11 spanner, just above a 10. And we all know how a 10 always gets lost, so take care of your 10s. Alright, got the bottom of a drinks bottle. Need to place it there approximately. I think that should do it. There we go. And there she is. Brake line finally loose. The camera died on me, but you just assemble it back together again just by screwing it in. And once that's sorted out, I've now moved my collector down here. As you can see, now the brake fluid is coming out the side, as it should. So I am going to put the clip back in place. Not that it will focus, there it is, where it should go. Just so you're curious, put this big guy right here. That's where that large main bolt goes through this and there. This looks so good. Okay. There you go. See? Sometimes you need a hammer. Let's get that in there for now. Now comes the difficult part. Compressing the strut to get the bolts through. Oh man, that looks so good. Haven't even bolted everything down yet, but that is gorgeous. Went on easier than I expected actually, which is great. Okay, now to bolt everything down. Before I do, just look at it from this angle. Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm gonna start with the brake line. That's gonna be a tight fit. I believe this is a 12 mil. Perfect. Once again, 17 mil socket, 17 spanner. And the control arm gets in the way, so an extension is needed for the bottom bolt. Now, grab my adjustable pliers, grab this side once again, hold that down, and then let's see how this works. So it looks like I won't be able to run my handbrake cable for a while, so I'm used to it for now. So I'll ride like this for a few days until I can get a new cable and have that sorted out. But otherwise, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So when it comes to talking down to spec your suspension damper, a lot of people call it a shock absorber. You want to use your workshop manual if you have access to one and check for the correct specs. So you'll see that these two bolts here that connect to the hub right there, you're looking at a torque spec of somewhere between 93 and 117. So that's on the two-wheel drive version, and on the four-wheel drive for some reason it's slightly lower at 78 to 117. So I ran with like a 90 just because it's halfway between, or roughly halfway between the two specs over there. The other one that you may need to do, this big long bolt, number 5, that runs across. You'll see on a four-wheel drive model, it's 63 to 75 Newton meters, whereas on the two-wheel drive, like I've got, once again, number 5, it is 63 to 75 as well. That is beautiful. You can see the red in there. Focus. And the silver I was talking about, right there. Yeah, right there. Just one last look before I start the other side. Like I said, I wish I had gold to match the lock nuts, but hey, we can always do that later. In the meantime, she still looks good. Comment down below if you know what wheel this looks like. Okay, so the final install looks pretty damn good. You can actually see it much better once I turn the flash on. Alright, so once again you can see your brake lines, everything is all in place. Now what you want to do once you put your wheel back on, Mazda recommends a reasonable range. I'll put it up on screen for your wheels to be torqued down to spec. I tend to go with 110 Newton meters. It's about roughly halfway through the recommended specs. That way you know your wheel won't fall off. Anyway, you can see that the brakes are working now. The outer pad is working its way in from the outside in. See, it's like from the top down. Not quite sure why, but it's working. It's coming together. Now, it's going to be a bit tricky for me to show you, but I'm going to give it a shot and show you the back brake pad. They seem to be doing the most work. So if you have a look, you'll see it's a much more even. This is just a shot from the left hand side of the car. The earlier one was on the right hand side, and you can see this one's also starting from the outside in, but it's a little more purchase, slightly more than the right hand side. Nevertheless, it's all looking good. Now that is your complete rear disc brake conversion on your Mazda 323 BF. I just gotta paint the front calipers now. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. That's everything you need to know to change your rear discs. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave any questions and comments below, and I'll be sure to answer them. Cheers.